How's it going, airplane collectors? Welcome back to another video to host today. Today's video will be a model review of the Gemini Jet's 1-400 scale Aeromexico Boeing 737 MAX 9. This model was released in February of 2022, and I just picked it up yesterday at Grayland Station here in Chicago. This review will consist of a short discussion of the box and its features, and then an in-depth discussion and analysis of the model's features, and at the end of the video I'll tell you guys what I personally think of the model and whether or not I recommend it to other collectors. So let's get this party started. So here's the box. It's your standard 1-400 scale Gemini Jet's narrow body box. It's 15.2 centimeters tall, 15 centimeters lengthwise, and it's about 4.5 centimeters wide. So it's relatively small. I'll show you around the box now. So here's the front, the bottom, right side, top, left side. Here's the back. The backside features the Gemini Jet's false guarantees and their social media, so that's that. If you guys notice, the box actually has a flap, so you can look and see the look into the box and see the model. And up here, there's also some information regarding the Boeing 737 MAX and the 737 history, as well as specific specifications for this aircraft. So if you'd like to read these, go ahead. So here's the aircraft. It's 11 centimeters long, the wingspan is about 9 centimeters, and from the ground to the tip of the tail it's about 3.2 centimeters. So in general it's a pretty small model compared to most things. It's accurate to 1-400 scale, and it's pretty nice. I'm going to give you guys a quick 360 of the model before I begin the review, so just sit back, relax, and I'm sorry if my fingers get in the way. And I just realized I started rotating this the opposite direction of what I usually do in my other reviews, so that's kind of a fun twist. So let's start the analysis by starting up at the front of the aircraft. So here you can see the nose and a lot of printed details. Nose shape looks pretty good so far. Recently, Gemini Jet 737 MAX aircraft have had nose issues. As you guys can see up here, there's a lot of printed detail as well. Surprisingly, there's no issues with the printing on this model or the paint, so that's pretty nice. I'll move along the fuselage. You can see a lot of surface detail. Very good overall. Oh, there's a little hair right here. No complaints from that part. Recently, Gemini Jets has had issues with printing, but on this model, they seem to be just fine. Here's the vertical stabilizer. Looks good except for this red portion of paint here. It appears to be a little bit darker, which is a sign of the fact that either one, they didn't use enough red paint and it mixed with the blue paint that's under here, or two, they just used the wrong color of paint. Aside from that, the vertical stabilizer looks just fine on both sides. Here's the other side for those that were interested. I will now show you the right side of the aircraft. I won't provide much commentary since it's virtually identical to the left side, but it still looks pretty good. Lots of printed detail, no issues whatsoever, so yep, looks pretty good. Moving on to the wings, here's the left wing. Lots of printed detail up here, looks very good. The molded detail in the wing also looks really good. They did particularly good on this one, so that's really good. Here's the scimitar tips, and this is where the first of my few complaints on this model started arising. If you notice that this top part of the scimitar tip, it's a little pointier than it should be. I don't think they flatten the surface enough here, but it's barely noticeable. And the second thing that gets me is the red paint up here. Same issues on the vertical stabilizer. They definitely used too little red paint, or they used the wrong color on there, so I'm not sure what happened with that. Also on the same wingtip, the blue paint from the other side starts invading the space of the gray paint on the side facing the fuselage, so that's kind of annoying. Other scimitar tip looks just fine. It just has the same issue as the red paint on the other side too. Something cool that I forgot to mention was the fact that it has the registration on the wing here. It has it on the top of the right wing and the bottom of the left wing. Here's the registration on the bottom of the left wing. Let's move to the rear of the aircraft and talk about the APU and the horizontal stabilizers. Everything looks good back here. Shape looks nice. Only very little nitpick that I noticed was, if my camera would focus that is, you can kind of see a little bit of white paint seeping through right here. It's a very small issue that it took me a while to notice, so I won't complain. Horizontal stabilizers look good, not very much detail on them. And the wing flex on these might be a little bit high, however, I'm not entirely sure, so form your own opinion with that. Now let's talk about the engines, and this is where the real problems start to show up. Recently on Gemini Jet 737 MAX airplanes, the engines have had a very bad tendency to be bent upwards on most models, and this model was no exception to that. When I was picking up this model at Grayland Station, all but one of the aircraft had bent up engines, and one of them ended up looking like this.
Oh my God!
Yes, this was sent to a Gemini Jets retailer. One of the best, to make matters worse, this is one of the best Gemini Jets retailers, and they sent them this. It kind of goes to show that the quality control on the engines is really bad. So if you do decide to order one of these online, there's a very high chance that you'll get messed up engines. Another issue that I found on a different model was that the paint here, the details here were scratched off, so something weird happened there. On this model, however, the quality control was for some reason good, and you can see there's barely any engine tilt. All the details look good. Exhaust nozzle looks really nice. Fan blades look very good. Same can be said about the right engine. Very good quality control on this model, definitely, which is a rarity for Gemini Jets these days. If you want, you can take a good look at the bottom of the engines. This is what they look like. Very good detail overall. Now let's talk about my second biggest point of issues, the antennas. So there's only 2 antennas and 1 Wi-Fi dome on this model, which isn't very much, but I won't complain. Less places to poke yourself. There's the main antenna here, the Wi-Fi dome, and a small antenna. Yesterday, while I was at the Grayland store, I also saw a lot of these models with, not a lot of these models, but some of these models with messed up antenna, like this antenna here was messed up. One of them was actually loose and it was spinning around, so that was also pretty annoying. And you can see this one's kind of bent backwards a little bit too, so I might end up removing and re-gluing it to the correct spot. Here's the bottom of the aircraft. Surprisingly not as much detail down here as I expected to see. That, or half of it's invisible because most of it's white. That's not a complaint. There's really not much to see down here either. Just a few printing things in the Gemini Jets logo, so it looks pretty good down here. I just realized my fingers are blocking the tail area, so this is what it looks like. Let's talk about the landing gear. Here's the nose gear. It looks pretty good. You can see that some of the paint is faded off on this one, but it rolls. And this is also the last point of defects where I'd usually see sometimes the gear just doesn't spin. And you can see that this landing gear is a little bit fat, but it's nowhere near as bad as other landing gears I've seen. Main landing gear also had some issues too, not on this model. Some of them were bent too far, or they were just made incorrectly and the wheels wouldn't roll. However, all of the wheels roll very smoothly on this model, so I got really lucky when I found this one. Here's the front of the model. Here we can discuss wing flex and gear balance as well as cockpit window printing. All of that looks great. Wing flex might be just a tad bit too high, but it's well within acceptable margins. I honestly don't think it's an issue anyway. It might be an optical illusion with the camera. Gear balance is nearly perfect due to the balanced landing gear, and cockpit window printing, I really don't see any issues with it. It might be tilted slightly to the right, but really it's barely noticeable. So that concludes the analysis and review. Honestly, I think this is a pretty good model, but I really wouldn't recommend getting it. Only reason I say that is because you can really get a lot of defects, you can get no defects, but chances are you will get defects with your model, so if you want to order it, you can take the risk. It might be a nice model, it might not be a nice model, so just proceed with caution. That concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd like to give a shout out to my friend who joined me at Grayland Station yesterday and helped me find some issues with some of the models, as well as helped me find some cool models there. His channel will be linked down below in the description, so make sure you guys subscribe to him. But that's all I gotta say. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more airplane content, and I'll see you guys later.